Now, the Trump tariff is now official, 19% on Philippine exports to the United States. Under a deal announced after President Marcos's visit to Washington, American goods will enter the Philippines with zero tariffs, while our exports now face one of the highest rates in Southeast Asia. It's being sold as a reciprocal agreement, but critics say that the power dynamic is clear. Last year, the U.S. ran a $5 billion trade deficit with the Philippines, and this new deal flips that burden back onto Filipino exporters. So did we get a fair shake? Who wins? Who loses? And what does this signal for the future of trade strategy? Joining us now is Joseph Purugganan, co-convenor of the Trade Justice Pilipinas Network, a coalition of farmers, workers, and advocates calling for equity in trade. He's been sounding the alarm on what he calls economic strong-arming and why this tariff deal may be a wake-up call for Philippine policymakers. Good morning, Joseph. Thanks for being here with us this morning.
Good morning, Mikey.
Joseph, let's start with your initial reaction. We were hoping for 0% tariff, but we had to settle with a 1% concession. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, Mikey, we don't have much detail right now about the deal except for what we hear from news reports. And as you said, the rate has been reduced from 20 to 19. One report that I read, for example, characterized the outcome not so much as a deal, but as a loose framework of a deal. So we feel that the devil is in the details. So far, the only confirmed information is that the U.S. auto imports will be granted zero tariffs, which is a major concern for local auto manufacturers. And aside from that, we're also hearing from reports. President Marcos himself said that, we expect increased importation from the United States for soy products, wheat products, and medicine, but no specific details yet.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, the details are not firm. All we have is that 19% figure, and it begs the question: what did that 1% come at the cost of? Right, as you said, the devil is in the details. Just taking a look at it, from the information that we have now, does this feel like a fair shake to you?
not at all. I mean, again, going by what Trump was saying on social media, that there's going to be a wider impact, in the Philippines would remove duties on U.S. goods, and the two countries would cooperate militarily. So Trump is claiming that this is open market for the Philippines, no. So in return for a mere 1% reduction from the 20%, the real question is, what did we give up, in order to get this measly concession? I think that is the main concern.
Yeah, interesting how you put it. What did we give up in exchange for this measly, as you said, concession? What do you think are going to be the effects on this? What does this tell you about where we are now and where we're headed, Joseph?
So for example, as I said, no, auto industry is a big concern. So the local auto industry, especially we're dealing here with assemblers like Toyota and Mitsubishi, they're already struggling to compete with cheaper imports. No? And the entry of US-made vehicles at zero will only make things worse. No? US brands benefit from scale, subsidies, incentives, and all of that. So even local auto parts, no, that's the other component of the industry, many of which are small and medium enterprises. We feel will feel the blow as demand from assemblers drop. No, this threatens the entire automotive value chain, having impact on jobs, livelihood, and domestic production, and could also trigger worst case scenario plant closures, layoffs, and a sharp decline in value added manufacturing,
Yeah.
directly undermining, in fact, a government own government program of comprehensive automobile resurgence strategy.
When do you expect to start feeling the effects on the Philippine economy, Joseph?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said, no, this is just one sector. We don't know the details yet, no, and I think that is the demand should be for the government to disclose what has been entered into, what was given up, no, because we feel that this would have an impact on our economy for sure.
What does this say about us structurally, and what needs to change moving forward?
Yeah, for many years, Mikey, the trade strategy has always been to push for free trade agreements, no, as a way to gain market access, supposedly for Philippine exports, and at the same time attract foreign investments into the country. That strategy is premised on the belief, which we have challenged all along, that these FTAs matter and that they are equal partnership agreements. Now, clearly, with the unilateral actions by Trump, we can say that they don't matter, and now that I think useless. No, so the effect is clear. The stronger partner sets the rules, and the weaker partner follows. It would have deep implications on our strategic development objectives, rebuilding our manufacturing sector, pursuing industrial policy, strengthening our agriculture. This will also further deepen our dependence on imports, and it makes it more convenient for us to import, just import and say cars or auto parts instead of trying to boost local manufacturing. So this would have, again, as I said, repercussions on jobs, wages, etc.
Yeah,
As we stated in our statement earlier, this should be viewed as a wake-up call to change course on trade policy.
absolutely. The external environment is indeed shifting, and we need to recalibrate. It's a call to strengthen our own domestic industries. What do we need from the government in order to really strengthen our domestic industries to this effect?
Well, I think we've been calling for support for domestic industries, particularly for small and medium enterprises. We feel that as far as the rethinking of trade is concerned, what we've been pushing for is deeper regional solidarity within ASEAN, no? Not just as a geopolitical bloc, but as a more cohesive economic community. We must also broaden and rebalance our trade relationships, especially with nations that respect sovereign development paths and not use trade as a political cudgel. And most of all, we must shift towards an economic strategy, as we said, centered on meeting the needs of our own people, reviving agriculture, supporting domestic industries, ensuring food, energy, and wage security from within.
Yeah, suma total, the one that's going to pay for this tariff is the consumer. So,
Yeah,
yeah, what are your thoughts on this,
yeah,
Joseph?
yeah. Tariffs are, as you know, Mikey, taxes, right? And most often these are passed on to the consumers. So the consumers would be made to pay higher costs for products. But tariffs are also a tool, and we, as trade justice advocates, we have always adhered to that if used properly to protect local producers. So when we reduce our tariffs against U.S. imports, it would mean cheaper imported products coming in. It might be good for consumers, but bad for local producers and manufacturers, and bad for farmers, workers who stand to lose livelihood and jobs in the wake of the entry of cheaper imports.
And Joseph, lastly, what's your final message to civil society, to policymakers, to businessmen on what we need to do to break out of this pattern of dependency and to reclaim our trade sovereignty?
Well, first message to the Marcos administration, I think it is incumbent upon the government to explain what or to provide more details about this. And we're actually not sure whether the executive has the authority to do that, no, because Congress has the authority on taxes and tariffs, no. But a broader message to civil society, I mean, trade is far too important to be left in the hands of politicians or their technocrats. We must all be engaged and remain vigilant because no one else will defend our interests but us. So if we leave it to them, we are we risk paying the price with our jobs, industries, and our future.
Yeah, no one will protect our interests but us. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Joseph Purugganan.
Thank you, Mikey.